In 2010, I talked about how Wade Barrett was the biggest ham and egger to ever get his own Survivor Series poster. Well, guess what? We have a new challenger! Could The Miz be now the biggest ham and egger to get his own Survivor Series poster? Here's my opinion. My opinion is that even though the force of ham and eggery is strong with this one, even though The Miz is clearly no Austin or Rock, he's still a former WWE champion, and I think most would agree that he would at least still rank higher than Wade Barrett. So there you have it. Wade Barrett remains the biggest ham and egger ever to get his own Survivor Series poster. However, I think we may have plenty of new challengers in the future in this PG era. Will Santino ever get his own Survivor Series poster to take this title away from Wade Barrett? Only time will tell. Could CM Punk be the most underachieving WWE champion of all time, right? And I'm talking about real champions. I'm not talking about transition champions or comedy champions or Kane's one-day title reign. None of that crap. I'm talking about real champions. Hogan, Rock, Austin. You know what I mean, you know? Among champions that we were meant to take seriously as the guy in the business, could CM Punk be the most underachieving of all time? First of all, his name is CM Punk, but it should be CM2, because it seems like every time this guy gets a major push, Raw ratings go down to 2. You know, when John Cena's world champion, Raw ratings are about 3 or 4. Give CM Punk a push, and all of a sudden we're looking at 2.8, 2.9, you know. I think there was even a 2.4 in there. You know, it's time for fanboys to start admitting that CM2's drawing power is very limited. Look, one of my favorite wrestlers ever is Bret Hart. I talk about him all the time. But even I will admit that at certain points of him being world champion, there were questions about his drawing power. Right? I'll admit it. So, if even I can admit that about Bret Hart, one of my favorite wrestlers ever, then why can't you fanboys admit that about CM2? Second of all, CM2 may be the first ever long-term WWE champion who's actually a mid-carder, right? This guy is not main eventing, right? Our flagship wrestling world champion right now is walking around like a mid-carder, right? Every time the WWE title is not in the main event, it brings down the value of the belt. And in this way, in my opinion, CM2 is dragging the WWE below 1995, right? People like to crap on mid-90s WWF wrestling all the time. But at least back then, we had champions who acted like champions, who felt like champions, who were in the main event consistently, right? CM2 won the title at Survivor Series 2011. Just how much of a main eventer has he been? Just how many of CM Punk's pay-per-view matches have been main event matches? He wins the WWE title at Survivor Series 2011, but was that really his shining moment? No! The pay-per-view clearly belonged to John Cena and The Rock, who were the true main eventers and the only ones featured on the poster. Next was TLC, where CM Punk indeed was in the main event against The Miz and Del Rio. Okay, so that's one. We'll highlight this one in blue. CM Punk was in the main event. But for the next 8 pay-per-views, that's 8 pay-per-views, champion CM Punk was not in the main event. Look at who the real main eventers are on the right side of the screen. The real main eventers are John Cena, Brock Lesnar, and The Rock. Even Laurinaitis takes the main event over CM Punk. How sad is that? It's not until Night of Champions where CM Punk finally makes it back to the main event, but even then it's only because he's fighting John Cena. Then he fights Ryback at Hell in a Cell, and that completes this pay-per-view cycle. Out of 12 pay-per-views, CM Punk only main evented 3 of them. And if you take out the Cena match, look at how pathetic these matches look. Do these look like world title caliber matches to you? No. They look more like Monday Night Raw mid-card matches, throwaway matches, BS matches. And you fanboys are trying to compare this guy to Stone Cold Steve Austin? Are you freaking kidding me? Now let's look at the WWF champion of 1995, Big Daddy Cool Diesel. Diesel, of course, wins the title after Survivor Series 94. At Royal Rumble 95, he fights Bret Hart, which of course takes a backseat to the Rumble. At WrestleMania 11, he again takes a backseat, this time to Lawrence Taylor. But then, he main events the next 7 pay-per-views in a row. That's 7 pay-per-views in a row, all the way until he drops the belt to Bret Hart at Survivor Series 95. In other words, while CM Punk was only able to main event 3 out of 12 pay-per-views, Diesel main evented 7 out of 9 pay-per-views. I'll do the math for you. That's 78% to 25%. You see what I mean by CM Punk underachieving? Look, again, every time the WWE title is not in the main event, in my opinion, it lowers the value of the belt. For CM Punk to have a 25% record is pathetic and damaging to the prestige of the WWE title. So go ahead and trash talk mid-90s WWF wrestling all you want. But the bottom line is that at SummerSlam 1995, we had a proud WWF World Champion carrying his belt into the main event, and a proud Intercontinental Champion carrying his belt into an epic ladder match. At this last SummerSlam, however, our WWE World Champion was this scrawny, straight-edge, dorky guy getting completely overshadowed by Brock Lesnar and Triple H, right? CM2, arguably one of the, if not the, most underachieving WWE champions of all time, not getting the job done. In my opinion, the WWE has a dilemma. Because on one side, you got John Cena, who is loved by the younger fans, the female fans, and a lot of casual fans, but the fanboys and the older fans hate his guts, so he gets half booed wherever he goes. Then on the other side, you got CM Punk, who the fanboys love, but it seems like every time he gets a major push, ratings go down. It's almost like a trade-off. It's like one or the other. It's like, if you make this guy champion, half the crowd boos him. Make this guy world champion, the booing half starts cheering, but ratings go down the toilet. It's like divided. It's like Republicans and Democrats. It's like, we are a wrestling nation divided. The wrestling fan base has become polarized. It's become split. And when the fan base is split like this, they become disconnected and wrestling becomes weak. What the WWE doesn't have right now is that unifying world champion, that Hogan Rock Austin, that unifying cross-demographic megastar that'll bring the fans together, united under the product, and push the industry upward. Right? Stone Cold Steve Austin walks to the ring and 70,000 people pop at the same time. That's what makes wrestling strong. Unity makes wrestling strong, right? I never understood the Cena apologists who are like, well, even though Cena gets half booed, well, at least he gets the loudest reaction. What good does that do? What good does a divided fan base do, all right? A divided fan base is no substitute for a unified fan base, all right? Cena getting half booed is no substitute for everybody cheering for The Rock at the same time. What good is a polarized fan base, all right? What good is it if one fan's like, wow, wrestling's great, go watch Raw. But then the next fan's like, man, wrestling shit, don't watch Raw, you know? How is wrestling supposed to rise in that kind of environment? You know, what happens is wrestling stagnates, you know? CM Punk fans arguing with Cena fans, Attitude Era fans arguing with New Era fans, you know? We don't have that unifying world champion. You know, these PG era WWE champions are polarizing as shit. You know, like John Cena, CM Punk, The Miz, Alberto Del Rio. You know, you got half the fans approving of them, and then the other half outright rejecting them. You know, how is wrestling supposed to stay connected with the fans in these conditions? You know, it can't, which is why the WWE has to bring back guys like Brock Lesnar and The Rock.